I'm in the little town of Belt, Montana. It's kind of in the middle of the state. I headed out this morning to do a little motorcycle ride, maybe I think an overnighter. Linda had some things that she was doing today, and she told me, go out and have fun. She said, don't video, I want you to just enjoy it. But I'm so used to talking to you guys, and I just think that you might like to just see, what I'm seeing this weekend. That's the main plan. Not sure if I'll even post this video, but we'll see how it goes. I headed out on the Yamaha TW200. It's good on paved roads, and it's good off-road. I don't know if I'm going to get off-road this weekend or not, but I'm prepared to camp out, whatever. Well, I just pulled into the city park here in a little town called Highwood. I'm going to cook up some lunch. Be nice to get off the bike for a bit. This is Highwood Creek down here. Good place to go fishing. I was hoping to find a nice spot to stop and make lunch, but I didn't anticipate finding a spot as nice as this one. This place is really beautiful. Before I tear into my packs to make lunch here, let me show you what I got. First of all, it's the bike that Linda and I got to take along on our trips, and we are getting ready to head south here in another few days. I wanted to get this trip out of the way as soon as possible because our weather is changing fast here and it's getting chilly. In fact, riding today is kind of chilly. I had to put on an extra layer, but we're going to head south and take the bike with us down there and use it in the dirt roads in Nevada and Utah, and we are really looking forward to that because that's why we got it. Basically, I got two saddlebags. They're waterproof saddlebags, and they hold quite a bit. I don't know how many liters each one is, but they hold a pretty good amount. Up on top, I got my military-style tent, kind of a small package. There's a exercise mat here, which I put underneath my thin blow-up mat, self-inflating mat, but it makes it fairly comfortable. And my sleeping bag is down underneath here. And I put my personal stuff, my clothing and stuff in this waterproof bag so I wouldn't have to wear a backpack. The bike doesn't have a front rack on it yet, and it doesn't have a tank, one of those tank bags on it yet, so I got to add some things to it. But it's working out really great. I put gas in it at the first little town, and I had gone 19 miles, and I only put in 0.23 gallons. So just a little over 2/10 of a gallon to go 20 miles, or 19 miles, so that wasn't bad. I'm going to get some lunch on. The TW200 is a lightweight bike. It weighs about 287 pounds dry. It's not fast. I've been cruising at 55 today, but I caught myself up at 60 a couple times. It didn't seem to have any trouble doing that. But it's not meant to go down the highway too much, although it is a dual sport. It's legal on the highway, as you know, and it's still good for off-road. It's not a real serious dirt bike. It doesn't have quite the suspension for that. But you know what? It just doesn't do bad. It's got a nice sized front tire on it, and it's got a huge rear tire. So it does everything pretty good. I think what I'm going to do is head up to a little town called Fort Benton, up on the Missouri River. It's not that far north of here, maybe another 15 or 20 miles, something like that. And on one end of town, they have I think it's a state park, or it might be a city park. I'll see if I can camp there for the night. In the meantime, I'm not a real fan of freeze-dried meals, but it sure is convenient for getting something to eat on the road. Not bad. Well, this is the little town of Fort Benton, situated on the Missouri River. It was the last steamboat stop coming up the Missouri. From here, you had to go by stagecoach or horseback or on your 2 feet if you wanted to go further west. But I was looking for pie, and then I saw the freeze over here, and I thought, well, ice cream is good. So I think I'll do that, and there's a campground on the other end of town. I'll make camp there and make myself some coffee later. Can't always get pie. Sometimes you got to settle for a hot fudge sundae or something. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, Fort Benton is a very nice little town, beautiful town. I wouldn't mind living here myself. Here's where the Missouri River comes through. You can picture the steamboats coming up here, offloading their passengers, coming up all the way out of St. Louis. But this was as far as they could go. From here, it just got too shallow. And not too far from here is Great Falls, where the falls are. So that's where Lewis and Clark had to spend 2 months building wheels for their canoes so they could portage around. Of course, their canoes were made out of these giant cottonwood trees. They were very heavy dugout canoes. 2 months to do about 20 miles. The town itself is very quaint. A lot of the original old buildings. Back in its heyday, this was a rough and tumble town, and the street I'm walking down was known as the bloodiest street in the West for all the gunfights here. Yeah, that's right. This is basically where Montana started, right here. Of course, that all ended when the railroad came through. I think this was originally a railroad bridge, but I could be wrong. It could have always been automotive, but anyways, what ended the steamboats was the railroad. When the railroad showed up here, steamboats were no longer needed. And like I mentioned in an earlier video, all the way down the river, all the homesteads could no longer get supplies because the railroad didn't go through there. It went up higher on the plains where it was more level. New here in town? Well, this was originally a toll bridge, not a railroad bridge. And just your only way to get across the Missouri River if you were driving through in your Model T or your wagon. This is the original Grand Union Hotel here in Fort Benton, and it's been totally restored. It's beautiful inside. I've been wanting to bring Linda here, spend the night in one of the rooms. All restored. Man, this place is just beautiful. And they have a good restaurant too. We did come here one time and have dinner. And it was very conveniently located right next to the river where the steamships were pulling up loaded with passengers. Well, it's time for me to go make camp. It's getting to be evening time. I'd like to go make some coffee first. Of course, with any visit to Fort Benton, you've got to remember Shep. Shep was the dog that lost his owner. His old owner died. So they had placed the coffin on the train, which ran through here, and sent the Shep's owner back east to be buried, back where he was from. But every day for the rest of Shep's life, he came down here every single day when the train rolled in, waiting for his owner to get off and come back. He never stopped doing that. Even they tried to take him in and, tried to give him a home, and he would never allow himself to be owned by anybody else. He just came back here and waited for his owner to come back on the train. That was Shep, and Fort Benton is actually famous for Shep. well. This spot will do just fine. Get the tent pitched. Okay, this is camp for the night. This little tent is pretty cool. The only problem is it doesn't really have quite enough room to sit up inside, but it packs up pretty small. And I've got my down mummy bag, which is supposed to be good down to 20, which means I should be good down to 35 or 40. And I see the latest weather report tonight is going down to 35. So I've got plenty of insulation underneath with a exercise mat, and then this is an insulated sleeping pad. So I've never been cold from underneath with this setup. I'll probably sleep in my clothes tonight though, just to make sure I'm warm enough, because this bag isn't going to be warm enough, I'm pretty sure. Just a beautiful little spot here along the river. Real high embankment on the other side. This is a county park next to the fairgrounds. And there's water here. There's a restroom over there. That's good. I should be comfortable enough. And it was $12 a night for tent camping. I think it's time to make some coffee. Fresh brewed coffee. Ah, I like that. I'd like to take the time to make it. Linda and I stayed here a couple of years ago. We had the trailer here. And at that time, on the news was a story of an older couple who were driving a motorhome. And I remember I told this story on my video because it had just happened. And their Garmin navigator in their motorhome showed them a shortcut through the mountains to the highway. And it was late, and they thought, well, it's a shortcut. So they headed up this dirt road in their motorhome, and they ended up getting stuck. They followed the main road up, and they might have been okay if they would have stayed on the main dirt road, but then there was another smaller dirt road that looked like it was even shorter or something. I don't remember why they took a turn and they went up this two-track. They ended up getting stuck up there, and neither one of them were healthy enough to get out and walk. So, you know, if you're healthy enough, you get out and you walk down the mountain. They didn't have any cell service where they were, and I think the wife made it, but I'm pretty sure, but it was the husband that passed away. He didn't make it out of there. And then just coincidentally, a couple of days ago, I read another story that just happened. And as an older couple, they're driving a minivan, and their Garmin navigator showed them a shortcut through the mountains. And they headed up there in a minivan with front-wheel drive, low clearance, street tires on it, and they got stuck. Although the woman was filming with her phone, you know, with her camera, and looking out ahead of them, you could see that it was going to go up through deep snow-covered mountains, and they were happy as a clam going up there. Well, they got stuck. And they tried to turn around, and the harder they tried, the more deeply stuck in the mud they got. So the husband went for help, and he never made it. And she was stuck there for days and days and days. No one came along. I don't remember how many days, but it was like 30 days, 40 days. It was a long time. Finally, some hunters showed up on their ATVs, and she was down to just eating bits of candy, and that was it. She had water because there was a stream nearby or something. But what is it? Why is it that people think that just because they see a road on their Garmin that they think it's a road? Because their attitude is, well, Garmin's showing us a road, so it must be a good road, otherwise Garmin wouldn't put it on there. Garmin needs to have a big disclaimer that they put right on the screen, stuck to the screen. When you buy their navigation units, it should be a sticker right on the screen that not all roads are passable. Because people that should know better, they don't, and they end up taking these roads. That's just two out of many cases like that. I did about 65 miles on the bike today, and it was all right. Now, I've got another bike, and you're going to see that one in videos. I might as well tell you about it right now. My neighbor gave me a Honda Goldwing. It had been sitting for years. It needs everything. And all that fancy luggage on it, it was all damaged in a wreck, so it all had to get tossed out. It was unrepairable. But it's going to run real strong. It doesn't have that many miles on it. So I've been working on that for the last couple of months, but it'll be a good road bike. And Linda's already excited about going on her first trip on it. She's ridden on it a couple times already. She really likes it. That's coming. This channel is about road trips. It's not exactly a camping channel, although I do a lot of camping. It's about road trips. I love making road trips, and I try to share it with you guys and encourage you guys to get out and do it yourself. It's not about me showing you where to camp. It's about me encouraging you to get out and find your own places and have your own experiences. There was a woman that just a little bit ago came down here in a pickup truck, parked over there, got out of her truck with 3 big dogs, and she walked down along the water here, and there's a trail, and took her dogs down into here, and that was a good thing. And this isn't the kind of place where you have to have your dogs on a leash, although it may be a good idea, because in her case, these deer came running out of here, and those 3 dogs were right on those deer's tail. They were chasing the deer. That is a big no-no. Maybe those dogs were just playing and they were just having fun with the deer. Or maybe they intended to attack that deer and kill it because that's a natural instinct. Well, this campground is on the south side of the town of Fort Benton. It's a county campground. It's called Canoe Camp. And there's plenty of places for tent campers too. Now, the reason they call it Canoe Camp is because this is a sheltered place where you can put your canoe in to go down the Missouri River. And it's about a good 6-day trip between here and Kip Landing, which is a nice place to pull out in central Montana, and plenty of places to camp along the river as you head down that way. Now, this isn't the Missouri River in front of us. This is actually an island in front of us, and this is a little arm of the Missouri. It branches off over there. The Missouri is quite a bit bigger. But yeah, you can put your canoe in here or your raft in and float for days. You can go all the way to St. Louis if you want to. It would be a wonderful trip. You could spend all summer doing it. Anyways, this is Canoe Camp. Well, I've got about 20 minutes before that sun goes down, and when it goes down, it's going to get chilly pretty fast. So I'm working on getting dinner going. I had planned on rice and Spam and eggs. I brought the rice and Spam, but I forgot the eggs, so it's going to be chili mac. But actually, this is really good. This is one of the best Mountain House meals there is, in my opinion. This is one of my favorites. So I'm doing all right. Well, it is getting a little chilly out there, so I came into the tent. It's pretty small in here. Well, it's big for one person. I guess it's about maybe 40 inches wide in here. Just barely enough room to sit up, but it has a fairly large vestibule out the back. So plenty of room for storing boots and gear out here. I'm going to kind of retire for the evening. I'll see you guys in the morning. I just hope it doesn't get too chilly. Well, I survived. Beautiful morning. But it did get chilly out. I ended up having to throw my jacket over the top of my mummy bag just to keep my torso warm this morning. But man, it's pretty. That ought to make the morning go a little better. Well, I'm trying to dry out the tent before I pack it up to go to head back home. I have a nice ride ahead of me today. And part of it involves the Carter Ferry if it's running. That's pretty special. See, I got this fly over this picnic table. Got him in the sun. I didn't want to pack away anything wet. So I don't know, I'm going to head into town, get some gas, and then head for the Carter Ferry. It's all backcountry, heading back home. A lot of dirt road, but should be interesting. Do you realize you can ride across states like Utah, Nevada, Montana, and hardly ever touch asphalt? Years ago, there was a YouTube channel called Nyrock, N-Y-R-O-C, and he did just that. He rode across both Utah and Nevada, and the only time he touched pavement was when he was crossing a highway to get to the dirt road on the other side. All the way across. He did it on an ATV. It was a pretty interesting video. But I didn't realize you could do that. But you can. You can do the same thing here in Montana, too. You can pretty much stay off the pavement and ride clear across the state just by taking the farm roads and the back roads and the forest roads and things like that. But real easy to do in Utah and Nevada. This is just a beautiful overlook along the Missouri River here. I always stop here whenever I go by just to check it out. It is just beautiful. You can see the old train tracks down below, long abandoned. I managed to get everything loaded up this morning. Nothing's fallen off. And I keep checking, making sure everything's tied down okay. And I'm just going to get back on the road. Well, this is the Carter Ferry. It's a free ferry run by the Montana Department of Highways. You know, we pay more for our gas here, but it covers our road maintenance and things like the Carter Ferry, the McClellan Ferry, and I think there's one other. But I'm just getting ready to take this across the river here. You push the button and then you wait for the attendant to show up. And they run, I think, like generally, depending on the weather, April through November. Of course, when the river freezes, they stop. Well, it's amazing to find something like this out in the middle of nowhere, just on a dirt road, down along the beautiful river. And speaking of dirt road, I've got some miles of that ahead of me here, so I'm going to get going. Well, this is part of an abandoned homestead here in Montana. There's a lot of these around. Most of them abandoned in the late 1920s, 1930s, Depression era. They got hit by the Dust Bowl and then the Depression. They also, the third thing they got hit with was locusts. All happened over a period of years, and one by one, just decimated them until they couldn't afford to keep on any longer. So, got that deer looking at me up here in the middle of the road. She's wondering, what are you up to? Real curious. Look, she wants to come this way. Look at that. Now she's going off. She says, I'm out of here. Anyways, that's a mule deer. Mule deers and whitetails is what we've got here. Well, I lost my tent and I had to turn around and go back and get it. Luckily, it wasn't too far back. However, the cover here got damaged a little bit from hitting the gravel, but it was only about a half a mile back. The wind is blowing, but it's okay. It's warm enough. It's not too cold. Kind of pretty out here though, isn't it? It's lucky that I noticed it. I felt I'm kind of leaning back on the load here, and I felt the load had given way a little bit, and I thought, something doesn't feel right. And I stopped and I looked behind me and the tent was gone. So it was a good thing I felt that. Well, I just stopped here for a break. This is where I stopped yesterday for lunch. Kind of a pretty place. I don't have too far to go home. It's maybe 30 miles. This is the little town of Highwood, once again. And there's a place here called the Highwood Bar, or at least there used to be. And I hope it's still in business. People used to make reservations here for Friday night because the Highwood Bar made the best steak in the state. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but it was something that people did from my town. Is they would drive all the way out here and just to have steaks. It'd be nice to think that they're still doing that, but I don't know. Anyway, Central Montana has been a lot of fun. Look at the size of this cottonwood tree. It's massive. I'm pretty sure this is one tree. See the size of just this one trunk. And look at that burl up there. That burl's got to be 30 inches across. What a fantastic tree.